Hi, so I've been subcutting all of our three strip pieces that have been sewn together into new three strip pieces. So what that means is I have a bunch of these and I have a lot of these. So next, these are gonna get sewn together into two rows like that. And then you'll finally add a third row on like this. And this is called a 9-block. So very classic term in quilting, the 9-block. Now, you may be looking at this thinking, how the hell did she get her squares and her corners so perfectly to match up? And the answer to that is a lot of practice, a lot of repetition, and a lot of consulting friends. So this is a pretty new thing for me to have my corners consistently meet up, and I consistently expect them to meet up now because my skill has advanced. But I want to show you a quilt when that was not the case. So in the spring, I finished a quilt that I had started 10 years ago called What a Bunch of Squares by Denise Schmidt, and it was a wonderful beginner quilt because it was kind of a wonky log cabin, and at the end of it, you could really trim that square up to be whatever and make it fit the quilt. So it really didn't matter if my piecing was perfect. It was a very forgiving quilt. So after I finished that quilt, I was still riding the quilting addiction high, and so I made this room at the table runner by the Missouri Star Quilting Company. And it's cute, and I love it. I think we should always be proud of anything we make, but I will show you some places where corners don't match up. So you see right here, that does not match. Doesn't match over there, but right here it's pretty good. That's probably the goal that we were going for. What else does not match up? This corner matches up pretty good. Ooh, look at these actually match up quite well, so that's great. But then you go down here and no match at all. I have a friend who is a quilter, and I said to her, I think my next step in quilting needs to be, learning how to cut more precisely and stitch more precisely. And the first thing she asked was, well, do you use a stripology ruler? And unfortunately, stripology is not paying me for this, because I'm sure every quilter would love to be a brand ambassador for stripology. This is my Stripology XL ruler, and I think when I was subcutting I had it on the table, but it's just so wonderful. You line up your fabric with this row and you cut off a little bit at the 0, and then it just gives you the perfect increment to cut in. So go watch a YouTube tutorial on how to use the Stripology rulers. There's Stripology XL, the original Stripology, the Stripology Mini, and then the Stripology Quarter Mini. And they're all absolutely amazing. Into precision quilting is to have a guide on your machine that helps you ensure that you are precision quilting. So this is my Pluck Sew guide, and let's see, I'll zoom in and get another image of that so you can see it more closely. That has been really helpful in ensuring I have perfect stitching. Another trick is just every so often you should always do a test, and this is where I took 1.5 inch strips of fabric and I used my 1/4 inch seam allowance, stitched them together, pressed them, and then I went back and I measured them. So based on the 1.5 inch, I'm going to lose from this middle piece, I'm going to lose 1/4 inch on the left and 1/4 inch on the right. So I know my middle piece should be perfectly 1 inch when I measure it, and I was happy with this strip it was. And that also means my side pieces should be 1.25 inch because they both lost 1/4 inch when they were joined. So then I know all the way across it should be 2.5 inches. So I checked all those locations, they checked out perfectly, and that's when I started piecing my quilt together. So I'm just going to show you real quick on how I do some of that piecing. So I like to stay consistent, cream on the bottom. Okay, and I have my stacks already to my right, so I don't have to keep stopping and going. Then the first thing I do is I like to nestle my seams. So that's my first point that I really try to get good. So I really squeeze them. I'm not as worried down here because I'm pretty confident in my construction that it was very precise. And then the beautiful thing about having precise cutting and precise piecing is that, the first seam I was worried about was this seam right here where my thumbs are, but look at that, it matches up perfectly. So that's a bonus. That makes me very happy because, again, in the spring this is not what my skill was. I forgot to turn my machine on, so that's okay. Just gotta remember what our settings were. I'm using a 1/4 inch piecing foot right here. So I don't know if you can tell, but there's this 1/4 inch extension right there off to the side. And so I need my needle to be in the middle, so I know from my setting that that's a 3.5 inch width. If I were to use that default setting, it would take my needle all the way over to the left. There's not a hole there for that, so I'd be breaking my needle. So that's not good. Also, my sewing machine is starting at a 2.5 inch length of my stitch. Because this is flannel and can fray very easily, I've been taking that down all the way to 1.4. So my machine goes in 0.2 increments. If you have a machine that goes by 0.1, I think a 1.5, 1.4 would be great. Okay, so I'm still kind of like pinching and holding on to it right there where that seam allowance is. Because I know that it can match up almost perfectly right there, I'm gonna lay this down. And I have a problem with my machine. If I were to start here without any fabric under the foot, it tends to want to like pull my fabric down into it. So I like to always have a feeder fabric going. It also saves your thread. So I'm just gonna do a few stitches. And that little shift my machine did was just kind of moving from the default 0 position to the 3.5. It won't do that again as long as I keep the machine on. Okay, so I got a few stitches in there. So my foot and my needle are actually holding my fabric together. So now is a really good time to kind of readjust everything and get a really good grip on it to help feed it through the rest of the way. So I have checked this seam down here. I'm happy with that. Still like my seam up there. So I'm going to go ahead and feed it through the rest of the way. Now there is a risk that when this seam right here feeds through, that it might want to get caught and flip up. The way I'm going to iron my 9 block, it's probably okay, it's not the end of the world, but I don't like it, so I'm going to use my seam ripper as a stylus. I'm just going to kind of help feed that through to make sure that doesn't happen. Alright, so now I have a handle on this bottom one. I did notice that this indigo fabric, the herringbone, does seem on this bottom to be just a smidge longer than the Glen Allen, and that is okay. We will try these blocks before we stitch them together, but I also wanted to make sure that it wasn't possibly like the way I have it laid out. So So I'm going to leave that one under there because I like to keep something under my foot. But I'm going to snip the one that was in there previously. And again, we have perfectly lined up points. So something to be proud of. But also just remember, if you don't have perfectly lined up points, we all had to start somewhere. And give yourself some grace and be proud of what you've made. So I'm going to keep stitching because I have to do a total of 85 of these 9 blocks. And as you remember, these 9 blocks start as 6 blocks. So I have to push 85 of these 6 blocks through and then add another of these light, dark lights to the edge. So it's going to be a little bit, I always feel like things go faster than you think they're going to go in the beginning, but it's going to be a little bit, so we'll be back when we have our 9 blocks. Okay. I just wanted to be honest with you and show you a goof I had earlier on in the video because I want you to realize that most of us goof. I watched Missouri Star Quilting Company with Misty Doan, and she was talking about using her seam rippers almost every day at this point, and I'm sure she's pieced together thousands of quilts. So I showed you my first 9 block. I'm so excited about it, and then I was also showing you how the next 9 block would go together, and so I had like held up something like this, and then I went back to piecing and I thought about it and I'm like, wait, that doesn't match. This is not the same as this. Do you see the difference? Do you want to see the difference side by side? Here is the difference side by side. They're not the same. This is what it's supposed to be. So I'm glad I caught it. I'm glad I was taping myself and I found the error of my ways, but this is incorrect. I won't be able to use this. If I became desperate, I could take the seams apart and repurpose it, but being flannel and knowing how easily it ravels, I'll try to avoid that. I have extra strips and I should have extra pieces in the end, and I think it's always good when you're quilting to do a little bit of an overage so you have that luxury later on. This is cute as a button though, so this will probably turn into a pot holder or something down the road. I have these oven mitts that I can make as well, so this will be something. It won't be wasted. It's beautifully constructed, wonderful fabric, but it won't be part of the quilt, unfortunately. So I just wanted to be honest and show you that, and if you caught it, kudos for you. You're probably an advanced quilter if you caught that.